Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplaced. Today I'm taking a look at Adventurous, another game from Button Shy on my channel, Solo Boulier, from designers Dustin, Dobson, and Milan Zivkovic, who, if you've ever watched this channel, are a pair of designers that I really do enjoy. Games like Skulls of Sedlec, games like Numpsters, games like this, which I've covered digitally and now I'm going to be covering again physically, Agera. These designers are a couple of my favorites from Button Shy, and I love what they've been doing with Button Shy. Oh yeah, how could I forget Rove as well? Big fan of these designers, so I'm very excited to be able to take a look at this upcoming game. This is a preview of a prototype of this game that will be hitting Kickstarter very shortly. Enough talking from me. I should put a little bit of a disclaimer here that as a preview copy of this game, I have been given advanced sort of access to this game by the publisher for this video, but as always, I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on the game. With all of that said, let's head down to the table to see how this game plays solo, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a game of Adventurous, begin by placing out this ship card that you're going to choose either the sort of standard side of like this, or the side here that uses some sort of journey effects at the bottom. I'll explain what those do later, but that is going to be the card that I'm playing with. So I'm going to set that out on the table like that. I'm going to have to end up moving things around probably quite a bit because this is going to be fairly sprawling. But then what I'm going to do is, depending on the difficulty level I'm going to be playing on, I'm going to make a deck of Marvel cards of 3 different sort of levels, 1, 2, and 3, or sorry, 1, 2, and 3, depending on the difficulty level. So I'm actually going to be playing on the second most difficult level here called Seasoned, which means I'm going to choose 2 level 1, 2 level 2, and 1 level 3 marbles at random, although you're allowed to choose them on your own. I'm going to choose at random, and then I'm going to mix those together to make a Marvel deck. And actually, because the screen is bigger up and down than it is left to right, I'm going to slide this down this way, and again, I will move things around if need be because it may end up looping back actually, so you know what, let's do that anyway. All right, so then from the level 1 deck, I'm going to choose 2 of them at random. From the level 2 deck here again, 2, I'm going to choose 2 of those at random. And then finally, again, from the level 3 deck here, I'm going to choose 1 of those at random. And then I'm going to take that deck and give it a good shuffle together, making my Marvels deck. And I will set that deck here, and then I'm going to slide over the first card. This card is going to be my active Marvel, basically. And this symbol is also going to determine which of the journey effects is active currently at any given point. So right now, level 2 journey effect would be active as I'm playing, but let me continue and finish the setup. On the back side of all of these Marvels cards are map cards. So now all of the remaining Marvels that I did not put into the game will get shuffled up. And I'll set that deck of map cards right here to be used in gameplay. And with that, we are all set up for gameplay. So a game of Adventurous is going to play out over a sort of somewhat indeterminate number of rounds, although there is a timer based on the sort of deck of map cards. But on each of my turns, or in each of these rounds, I have to choose either to explore or discover. Explore means I'm going to draw 2 cards from this deck, and I'm allowed to draw them either from the top or the bottom of the deck, 1 at a time, so I can see what the second card is before deciding to choose from the bottom for the next card. And then after having drawn 2 cards from the map deck, I need to add them to my tableau. And the way that it works is I must cover this waypoint sign on the previous card, and I'm allowed to cover any of the other things on the card aside from a second waypoint card when I start doing maps on map cards. I can never cover this bottom half of the starting ship card, and I can never cover any piece of any of the Marvel cards once they've been placed out in my tableau. And in doing so, I kind of want to think about a few things. At the end of the game, I am going to score 1 point for every piece of sort of path that I've got showing on my map at the end of the game. I'm also going to score 2 points for each of the symbols I have showing, except for these whirlpool symbols, which are going to score me -3 points at the end of the game. And also for every one of these marvels I do not complete at the end of the game, I will lose 5 points, but if I manage to complete all 5 of them, I will gain 5 points. But in addition to that, while I'm playing, there is a sort of instant endgame trigger, not instant, but instant loss trigger at the end of the game if I ever have, as shown on this ship card, more than 4 fins, more than 3 of these tentacles, or more than 2 of these tridents visible on my map at the end of the game. I will lose the game immediately and no scoring is done. So while I'm laying things out, I kind of need to make sure that I'm covering enough of those things so that they're not visible at the end of the game, but also maximize the number that within those guidelines that are visible to score the most points at the end of the game. But again, I told you on my turn I have 2 options, one which is explore and place out new maps. The other option is to discover, and what that means is I can place out either of these 2 marvels, depending on the journey effect, which I'll explain in just a minute, onto my map. And in order to do that, I need to cover whatever it shows in the bottom right corner of said marvel. So for example here, the Happy Cliffs, sorry, not happy, very not happy, Harpy Cliffs, says I need to cover at least 3 of the different, or not different, but 3 symbols plus an additional fin and an additional trident. So I have to cover 5 symbols to place this card out, 2 of which have to be a shark fin and a trident. Meanwhile here for the floating island, says that I need to simply cover 2 whirlpool symbols on my map. And you'll see how that works in just a minute, but again, we also have the journey effects. And the journey effects say if this card is a level 1 card, then I cannot place the sort of next up card. I can only place the one that's currently there. If it's level 2, which it is currently, it says that when I place out a path card, it must cover at least 1 path segment in addition to the sort of waypoint symbol that I always have to cover, which is sad because remember, each of those paths is a point at the end of the game. And then if this is a level 3, it says that I cannot cover the whirlpools, which means placing out these map tiles or map cards is going to become more difficult. So all of those things are sort of going to mess with me and throw a wrench in the works in different ways as I play. So with that, we are all ready to get into gameplay. And since there's no way for me to place out a marvel at the current situation because I have no map yet, I do need to take some cards. And I do see that I need 3 symbols plus a shark plus a trident. Well, here's 3 symbols, 2 of which are already fins. So I could end up using that as a fin instead of a 3rd symbol. So I do like that card. So I'm going to draw that card. And again, here's a fin and a trident, which could also be really nice. In addition, I see 2 whirlpools that I could potentially use for my floating island. I don't hate that. I do not hate that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take those 2 cards and see how best to fit them in. So again, I need to cover this waypoint, and I can't cover any of the bottom, so I'm going to be able to place it in any order like this. These cards can be placed both horizontally and vertically, and we need to make sure that the path is always a single path, not broken, not splitting, and again, always must cover 1 waypoint at a time. So I could, for example, put it like that, and then I could, for example, put it like that, except that, remembering we have a rule now from this card that says I have to cover at least 1 path, so I could do that instead. The problem being is all of these marvels have to be placed sideways. So something like this. But unfortunately in this situation, I'm only covering 2 things plus a trident and a fin, and I need 3 things plus a trident and a fin. So I need to get them sort of sideways in some way, if possible. The other option is I can potentially try and figure out how to get these 2 whirlpools near each other to play the floating island. But let's play around for a little bit. If I do that, and I do that, or that. That may actually be good. I'm losing 2 pathways, but in doing that, I then have 1, 2, 3 is fins, but I don't want that to stay there. Hold on. How about if we do that and do that? That works. It's a shame because I'm losing 2 fins that could potentially score for me. But doing that, I only lose 1 path. That is the end of my turn, and then I can play, if I'd like to, which I think I do, this Harpy Cliffs, because Whirlpool Tentacle is 3, plus a fin, plus the Trident. That fits right there like that. Good. And now I don't have to cover paths anymore because my new card is a level 1. But level 1 means I cannot place this one before I place this one. Okay, then I need to place over 2 whirlpools. The next one coming up says I need to have 6 symbols covered. Well, there's no reason not to take that card, because that will fit in real nice like that. And realistically, I could do all kinds of things with that. But this is not a great thing. I'm going to save this one, actually. I'm going to take from the bottom because the next one needs 6 symbols, and this has 4 on it. And this already has 4 on it. So that seems like a waste of symbols to me. So I'm going to take those. So I want to figure out a way to place them so that I can have those whirlpools accessible to each other. And that might be the way to do it. It does kill this tentacle, but it will leave those there for potential scoring later on. Let's do that. I'm going to play that. Oh, but that's a problem because I can't cover there. So I need to figure out a way like that. Nope. No. Like that. Yeah, that's a problem. Hold on, how did I have that set up? I mean, I can always do that, but I don't love it. If I did that, oh, that kind of works. Yeah, that kind of, no, because that has to go on top. It can't go underneath. I could do that. I lose 1 path, but it's not horrible. I'm still on camera. Yes. Okay, we'll do that. And by doing that, I can cover here. Like that. Means those 2 shark fins are staying forever, and that trident is as well. But again, I'm allowed to have 4 shark fins. That doesn't worry me too much. All right, then we come back out here. That's a level 2 again, which again tells me I have to cover at least 1 path segment when exploring, which could actually get rid of that shark fin if I wanted it to. All right, then this needs 6, this needs 3. I'm going to try and get the 6 done. Yeah, actually, that's going to be beautiful. That's only 4, but I am going to take that one. And I think that also will work. Because if I do this, and I'm off screen, so I'm going to have to figure out how to get back. Like that. And again, if I do that, but that's 4 high. Four high is not going to work. Hold on. if I do that, and I do that, it covers everything. Wait, hold on, I've already covered a pathway there, so I don't have to do it again. If I do that, that's dangerous because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only way I get 6 is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but that leaves 2 tridents, and then I have to be super careful for the rest of the time. But doing that gets rid of everything. I'm not scoring stuff at the end, and it also loses a path. But it could be worth it. Could also try that. Doesn't work. Yeah, no. It's got to be that way. And I can't leave myself more tridents, because then I have to cover things. So I'm going to do that. Which means that this volcano 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 can go right there, like that. Perfect. We are back to level 1, means I cannot do this Hydra yet. I have to do this. This one says 3 of anything. The Hydra that's coming up says must cover exactly 3 different types of encounters, which is less fun. But keep going. I don't love this, but that is 3 things. Is there any way to connect to there without doing... That connects, but I can't ever use those. That can't connect. I don't like that. I'm going to draw from the bottom. And then from there, so that could do that. From there, that could do that. And that gets rid of everything again. I don't know if I love it. And this is 3 different types of encounters. So I might save that for the Hydra. Let's go from the bottom again. Ooh, shark fins are good. Okay. Then I need to figure out a way to keep those shark fins while getting rid of that guy. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way to... Oh, but that works. That works. That definitely works. Yeah, why not? Okay. Because then this 3 can go right there and cover those 3 things right away. But I'm actually going to wait. I'm actually going to wait because 2 things. One is, if this is the active card, I can't cover whirlpools with cards, which I might want to do right now. But also, this is 3 different types of encounters. So that card could get placed there if this finds somewhere else to go, because this is allowed to cover 3 or more of anything. So let's just keep going. I'm kind of scared of what's coming, so I'm going to take 1 from the bottom. Oof. And then I guess let's take 1 from the top, like that. I don't love that this is coming this way because we're running out of space. But if I do that, nope. Nope. I don't like it. Ooh, if I do that, no, that cuts off. I'd have to do that. That's fine. Why not? That's fine. I'm allowed to have how many? I can have 2 tridents. So I need to get rid of 1 trident. And if I do that, I'm allowed to have 3 squid. If I do that, that actually works perfectly because I can play this one here And I can play this one. Over 3 must cover exactly 3 different types. 1, 2, 3 of that. But, hold on a minute. Let me think about this. Because that puts me at 2 tridents. And I don't know what's coming out here. If that bottom card has a trident on it, and I don't know if it does, then I lose. Because I can't cover it. So hold on a minute. One, two, three. Oh, that works anyway. That. There's no reason to cover this red one and that. Yellow, red, blue, that works there. Like that. Yay. Running out of screen space, but it's working. All right, then the last 2 cards are the last 2 cards. Ooh, and there weren't any tridents on there, so that would have been fine. All right, so I'm allowed 1 more fin, 1 more trident, and 2 more tentacles. So I want those things to show up and one of those fins to show up, like something like that. I'm off the screen. I'll see if I can zoom out in a minute, or I can try and be more careful. No, I'm off the screen anyway. All right, let's see what happens if I zoom out a little bit. All right, then that. The problem is I don't like that piece either. That, like that, and I gotta get rid of 2. I could do that, but I lose a ton of stuff if I do that. I kind of want to be able to get rid of that. There's no way to do it. I'm trying to figure out if I can do that. There, like that. You can't see the last 2 pieces. Let me slide up again, trying my best to keep everything connected. And now you can see here, this one is covering there. And then this one is covering these 2 and those 2 like that. It's not a branching path, it's just a weird loop back. And like that, I am all finished. So now we go into scoring. Get a little bit tighter to see a little bit better. All right, then, first things first, I score 1 point per path in my final journey, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37 points of path. Counting again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, yes, 37. I did do all 5 marbles, so that's plus 5. And then 2 points, well, let me double check. I only have 4 fins, safe. I only have 2 tentacles, safe. I only have 2 tridents, also safe. So we count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 is 58 points. And then we lose points per whirlpool. I only have 1, minus 3 points. Gives me a score of 55 points, which, looking at the score threshold at the end of the rule book, in this seasoned difficulty level play of the game with a 50 plus score, that was a marvelous adventure. Again, I apologize a little bit for keeping everything on screen, but I think that ended up working well. There's not really much to show you as far as components go. This is a prototype copy again, so I can't comment on quality, but it's Button Shy, and Button Shy cards are Button Shy cards, and I love them and they're good. And that's basically all I can show you as far as that goes. Visually, you've seen everything there is to see. It looks beautiful. I love the way that this builds out this path on the table. You can sort of see the ship's journey as it passes along different marvels along the way. I'll show you a couple more of the marvels up close just because the artwork in this game is gorgeously beautiful. Let's see here, some extra ones. Here's a sea serpent, Leviathan, Aurora, Shipwreck Isle. These are all different things that you pass by on your journey. Whirlpool, Abyss, Ghost Ship. Really, really cool art. Very, very thematically great looking. The only other thing to show you is the wallet as normal. I'll put it up here on the screen. This is not a bad wallet. It is a very sort of standard kind of wallet. The color is a nice blue color, but it doesn't really stand out dramatically in any kind of way. I do enjoy the font type that's been picked here. The blue does sort of bring to thought a journey through the water. But again, the font does look nice. It's a pretty wallet. It looks nice, but it's nothing that would catch my eye immediately. I do like the way it looks, no complaints at all. But again, some of the more recent wallets have been really, really cool to me. So this one is sort of just a normal wallet. But again, I'm not judging the game based on the wallet. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. What can I say? Dustin and Milan have done it again. Another great game from them, another great spatial puzzler from Button Shy. I keep feeling like, okay, they've sort of exhausted all the spatial puzzle options. What could they possibly do next? They've done cards overlays, they've done displays, they've done tableaus, they've done sort of grids that cards score off each other. How can they change it up? What can they do next? And they continue, both Button Shy and Dustin and Milan continue to come up with these really, really great spatial puzzle games that I continue to enjoy. So let's talk about Adventurous. Adventurous is unique in that it's not just a spatial puzzle that you're laying cards out to build something or to make something. There is a very sort of direct push or direct theming to this that you are sort of going on an adventure. You are on a boat, sailing off on adventure past these marvels that you discover along your adventure. And the way that that ties into this sort of spatial puzzle means that as you're building card after card after card in a sort of path, but not just setting up the path to score points, but setting up the path to build sort of sets. It's sort of a set collection tile laying or tableau card laying game that you're trying to build up sets of things, but not just to collect the sets, but to collect the sets in a sort of space or area that you can lay a 4x3 card horizontally on top of, matching whatever specific set that particular card needs to place out into this sort of spatial tableau. And it really does make for a unique and different and interesting twist on this laying cards on cards to build out a thing. Because the way that you're building them out is that the sort of path that's printed on each card needs to successively connect to the waypoint or the sort of end of the previous path in your journey. And every turn you're drawing 2 of these cards. But you can draw from the top of the deck of things that you can see already, or from the bottom of the deck randomly without knowing what's coming out. But you're always drawing 2 cards, which is cool because you can then sort of put which card you want first, because the paths on these things are going to be slightly different shaped and in slightly different directions, and these sort of icons on each card are going to be on different sides of the card in relation to those paths and the turns of those paths. So figuring out how best to overlay these cards so that as much of the path remains on that card at the end of the game, because you are scoring 1 point per piece of path at the end of the game. And then also, as many icons as possible are showing with some caveats. You want those icons to sort of be grouped in certain ways so that sort of the icons in one card are on the same side of the path as the icons on another card, so you can lay those marvel cards on top of the icons, matching the condition they require to be placed out for several reasons. One, because you want to be able to place out those marvels. But also because at the end of the game, there are 3 sort of main scoring sets of icons There are fins, tridents, and tentacles. And at the end of the game, you can only have 4 fins, 3 tentacles, and 2 tridents showing in the entire tableau. And if you have more than that, you lose instantly. Well, I say instantly, it's already the end of the game, but you instantly lose because you don't score, you don't do anything else, you just lose. Means, as you're laying out the marbles, you also want to do it in such a way that you're trying to cover as many of those things to not lose, while not covering so many of those things that you can still score, because you get 2 points for each of those that are still showing at the end of the game if you have not triggered that lose condition. So you're trying to both cover them so you don't lose, but not cover them so you score, because 2 points each is pretty big. But you're also trying to build the path so that these marbles can overlay what they need to overlay in order to be placed out on the board, because for every marble you don't place by the end, you're also losing 5 points each, which is huge. Then there are also these whirlpool symbols that are okay to have as many as you want to on the board, but at the end of the game, you're losing 3 points for each of those whirlpools, so you want to cover as many of those as possible as well. And I said you can use the marbles to cover these, but also you can use the path cards to cover them. The problem with using the path cards to cover them is generally, if you want to overlay the cards in such a way that you're covering up icons, you're probably also covering up paths. And if you're covering up paths, you're losing 1 point for a path you don't have at the end of the game, because they score you 1 point each. So you really don't want to have to do that. So you really kind of want to move these shapes of icons, or lay out these shapes of icons in such a way that they're away from the path on one side, so you can cover them with marbles, because marbles can cover more things than they need to be covering. It means you're allowed to cover extra stuff with those marbles, but that you're not sort of constraining yourself, because nothing can ever be laid on top of a marble card. So you also don't want to mess up potential path futures by laying these marbles, because again, remember I said you're laying these out in order as you go through your journey. So if you've got a marble here and a path that goes here, well, now you can't place any paths here anymore, and you can only sort of go up and to the other direction. So you're constantly trying to balance all of this stuff about where are the paths, where are the icons in relation to the paths, how am I building sets of icons to place out marbles, can I cover more icons than I need to with those marbles so that I don't lose at the end of the game, but can I leave enough stuff on the board so that I can score at the end of the game? How do I most efficiently place to leave as much path or as long a journey as possible before the end of the game? And if that was it, that's great. But then there's one more step on top of that are called these journey effects, that depending on which marble you're currently working on, it's going to mess with you again in some more different kinds of ways. One of which is you can only place the current, sort of the upcoming marble, and not the second one that you would normally have access to, which limits what you're able to do, limits which, or sort of extra focuses which icons you need to get placed out so that that marble can go on top. The second one makes it so that when you place out path cards, every turn you must cover at least one path space. Means every turn you're losing 1 potential point. And the third one, which is even more annoying, is that you cannot cover whirlpools with path cards. Remember, whirlpools are worth -3 points at the end of the game, and if I can't play path cards to cover those, that big -3 every time I can't cover one is huge. So dealing with these extra sort of restrictions on the game, making sure to place out marbles to sort of churn through these restrictions so you're not hit by that same horrible restriction over and over and over again, adds another wrinkle, adds another twist to the game. Just all of this together works really well. I should also point out one more thing towards the end of the game, because this is where it gets really hairy. Remember, you can only have 4 fins, 3 tentacles, and 2 tridents at the end of the game, not to lose. What that means is towards the end of the game, how you're taking out those path cards, how you're overlaying those path cards, and potentially the ability of the marble to not allow you to cover whirlpools could also mean that there's no way to place a card to cover other things that you need to hide so you don't lose at the end of the game. Towards the end of the game, things get real crunchy, and you have to start thinking about, which icons have I seen so far? If I draw from the bottom of the deck, what kind of icons might I get? If I draw from the top of the deck, which icons am I getting? Can I make sure that I have a card at the end of the game that can cover things, that doesn't contain the things I shouldn't have, that can cover the things I shouldn't have? Just so much going on in this game. And again, as I said, thematically, this idea of traveling on a journey, sort of meeting or encountering these marvels along the way really works with the mechanics of the game as well. I am really, really enjoying this game. Lots of challenge in there. There's some different difficulty levels you can play with to make it more or less challenging for you, as always, which is something I appreciate from these games. Again, what can I say? Dustin and Milan continue to be favorites of mine. Button Shy makes some wonderful spatial puzzle games for solo gamers like us. Big, big fan of this one. As I'm posting this video, it's coming very soon to Kickstarter. You can use the link down below in the description to go check out the campaign if this seems like something you're interested in. As always, I do ask that if you did enjoy this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks.